The Tennessee Titans, who will be decked out in the Oilers gear, will be taking on the Houston Texans this Sunday in Nashville, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if Tennessee loses this game, they are officially eliminated from playoff contention. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. My goal is to get to 500 by the end of the year. That seems like a long shot. So, hey, if you guys can help me get to 400, I will take that. Really trying to grow the channel here. Hopefully you guys like the content. And if you do, please subscribe, like, share, comment down below. I comment back on everything, whether you guys agree with me or not. And hey, it's good. We're all Tennessee Titans fans. I'm sure some of you guys are Texans fans. So I hope you enjoy the content as well. But hey, let's dive into it. The Tennessee Titans, they are currently 5-8, and then the Houston Texans are 7-6. The Houston Texans are just outside the playoff picture right now. And the Tennessee Titans, like I said earlier in the start of this video, if they lose, they are officially out of playoff contention, which, as you guys know, I already consider them to be eliminated from playoff contention already. But guys, this isn't the game we expected to see. I'll get into the injury report sooner than later in my video because usually I say that towards the middle or the end, but I'm getting into it sooner than later because CJ Stroud's doubtful. He's probably not going to play. This isn't the game we expected. This isn't going to be Stroud versus Levis, who I think are the two best quarterbacks in this past year's draft class. I thought Bryce Young was a bust, and I don't know, it's still a little too early to say if he is or not. But I typically don't like a guy that can't see over the offensive line. Some people will say Drew Brees, but, guys like Drew Brees don't grow on trees. And you also got to figure he was set up for failure there too. There's no talent in Carolina whatsoever. And I feel like he was set up for failure there. I really do. I feel for the guy. He seems like a nice guy. But, yeah. But I do think we have the two best quarterbacks in this draft class. And we didn't even get to see what AR-15 has. And then you already have Trevor Lawrence. And I will be doing a video in the offseason about how I think this is going to be the most talented, loaded quarterback division in the entire NFL, if not as early as next year. But guys, I'm going to pull up the injury report for you right here real quick because how much of a factor this really does play into this game. And I'm kind of bummed out by it, to be honest with you. And I'll get into that towards the end of the video. We'll start with the players that are out for the Tennessee Titans, okay? We have Kyle Phillips, who I don't really even remember him injuring his hamstring. It seems like he's hurt all the time. I'm questioning whether he's even going to be on the team next year. I mean, he might get cut. I mean, this can't stay healthy. Many of the John Robinson picks can't stay healthy. We have Tier Tart, and I will pull up something on him in a little bit here. He's actually out, but he's actually cut now. He confirmed it on Twitter, and I'll pull that up at some point during the video, right after the injury report. We have Jeffrey Simmons out. He did avoid IR, so you got to think that he'll probably come back in the last couple of games. Then Josh Wiley, who you guys all know I am high on as our tight end. He's a rookie this year. He's out as well. And then we have 4 guys that are questionable. Danico Autry, knee/illness. I expect him to play. Linebacker Jack Gibbons, who's been playing very well lately with a back injury. He is questionable. We have Kevon Wallace, safety, quad, questionable. And then we have illness for Nick Westbrook-Akine, and he is questionable. Now, if he doesn't play, that's going to open up a lot for Chris Moore because you got to figure Kyle Phillips is already out. Not like we're stacked at wide receiver. But the rest of the guys, had limited participations or rest. They're all full goals. So let's dive into the Houston Texans here. We have Will Anderson, defensive end, ankle injury. He's out. That is massive for those guys. Linebacker Blake Cashman, hamstring. He is out. Quarterback CJ Stroud, doubtful with a concussion. He's out, guys. The way the league is with concussions nowadays, especially if you take a talented young quarterback like Stroud, they're not going to let him even touch that field. So you might as well say he's out. even though it says doubtful. He's not playing. Cornerback, Tavier Thomas, hamstring, he is out. And then you have about 5 questionable guys here for the Texans. You have Nico Collins with a calf injury, George Fant with a hip injury. Remember, we wanted him in the offseason. We didn't get him. Noah Brown, knee injury, questionable. Shaq Mason, calf injury, questionable. And then we have Henry Tuatua, a hamstring, questionable. I probably butchered that last name, so hey, if you guys are Texans fans, feel free to correct me. Big injury report there for the Texans, and some big names for us as well. I mean, it doesn't get much bigger for the Tennessee Titans other than, or you know, when you're talking about Jeffrey Simmons not playing, that's a big name for us. Now, and then Denico Autry is questionable, but you know, I think he will play. You know, seeing these guys out, it's not the game that we expected or that we thought we were going to see between these teams. And you also got to figure the Texans are looking at playoff picture. They're looking at big picture. They might try and rest these guys and get them healthy for the last 3-game stretch of the season. Very good chance that they will do that. Now I have a few things here to run through, guys, and just some good Tennessee Titans content that I gotta pop up here. We got Angry Runs winner, Will Levis, a quarterback, won it, and man, he's standing right next to the king here, and that's just awesome. From one winner to another, love it, man. When Will Levis just absolutely just lowered the shoulder on Ramsey, man. You got to figure that pumps up the defense, that pumps up the offense, that pumped me up, me sitting my ass on my couch. I was excited. Good stuff to see. And then, obviously, like I said earlier, we are wearing the Oilers throwbacks, and here's a picture of a helmet here, and we're going to be repping Frank Wycheck, rest in peace, who passed away a little over a week ago, and they're going to be wearing the 89 on the back of the helmets, and to pay tribute for him, and that's unfortunate what happened with Frank Wycheck. The last I saw on that was that they believe he passed out, fell and hit his head. I don't have any more news other than that. If anybody happened to know more, please comment down below. And then the last thing I'll get into right here for as far as popping some interesting facts up here. There's a lot happened this past week. This happened today. Tier Tart. So here's his tweet here. I love how it's set. I love how his X handle or Twitter handle, whatever the hell it's called nowadays, his at Speedboy. Like you're not, dude. You're a pretty hefty boy. It's just funny. I find it funny. But his tweet here says, "Appreciate the Titans respecting my request for the release. Looking forward for my next," and it shows eyes and a home. So looking for his next home, and so. He requested a release. He was granted it. There was turmoil with him in the offseason. Didn't like getting second-round franchise tendered, which I thought was actually pretty fair if someone wanted to go and snag him. I didn't understand us tendering him. I didn't really understand us tendering Brewer, because I don't think anybody would have tried to steal Brewer, because I think he's such a undersized and just not a very good center. I hope this is the last year he's on the Tennessee Titans team. But I also feel like this is one of the guys that Jeffrey Simmons called out. When Jeffrey Simmons said, there's guys that don't want to be here. We got to figure out who they are and get them off the team. Tier Tart has always been, from what I've been reading lately, is a guy that doesn't really want to put the effort in, the practice in, the conditioning. And, you know, if you're not going to put your all into it, you know, maybe you don't really want to play on the team. And that's why they did that. You know, if Jeffrey Simmons is calling you out, you know, and think about who would he know the best? Defensive linemen, who he practices with and plays with day in and day out. I would put money on it that this is a guy that Jeffrey Simmons called out, and he's no longer on the team. And the fact that he requested his release kind of, you know, sucks. But you guys got to remember, we're getting rid of some players here that are saying, oh, thank God I'm on the Titans. I request my release and blah, blah, blah. These are the cancerous guys that are on the Tennessee Titans team. We need to get them off the team and start building that culture back up, okay? So it's not all doom and gloom. It really isn't. It's just, you know, sometimes you gotta go out in the garden and start plucking some weeds, right? Let the flowers come in and grow. So getting into this game, back into this game, the Titans are currently 3.5-point favorites, And a lot of that has to do with CJ Stroud not playing. I think if Stroud were to be playing in this football game, I think that this would probably be a dead even game. Because let's be honest, guys, Stroud's the real deal. He's 275 of 441 passing on the year for 3,631 passing yards, 20 touchdowns with only 5 interceptions. So Stroud is a good quarterback, and I really do think he's going to be an elite quarterback. And we're not facing him this week. Obviously, it's doubtful with a concussion, which might as well just say he's out. And the NFL is super cautious with those concussions, like I said earlier. And then now we have, I'll get into Levis's stats now that he's, starting to play some more games, starting to put together some good games, especially that game against Miami last week, where he really just shouldered the Tennessee Titans and put them on his back on the offense and won us a football game. Obviously, the defense helped out with that, but hey, you got to make the throws. You got to come back and win. Will Levis's first comeback win. Love it. Love to see it. So Levis went, on the season, he's 130 for 223 passing for 1,593 yards with 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Now, I really do wish that this game was Stroud versus Levis because I think it'd be fun and entertaining to watch. I do think if Stroud is playing this football game, I think probably the Texans would actually make a couple of those other guys play, like their wide receivers. I don't think they would be questionable. I think they would be playing because this would be a game that they need to have. I do think Texans could be resting some players this game if Stroud's out. But this is a big game too. It's a conference game, division game. And you hate to use the word resting, but you got to think big picture if you're trying to make the playoffs. Don't put those guys out there if they're a chance of getting hurt, and then you got to win out. So this is a big game for Houston. Houston has to, if they lose this game, they have to win out in order to make the playoffs. They're not even the 7th seed right now. Indianapolis is. So they have to win out if they lose this game. So if they do win this game, then, they could probably lose one of the final 3 and still make it in. But they have very slim margin for error. That's why I feel like us, sitting at 5-8, we're basically already out of it. A team like the Texans, if they have less than 10 wins, they're not going to get in. You're telling me if we're at 9-8, we're not going to make the playoffs. That's just not going to happen. That's why I almost wish it was Stroud versus Levis, because I do think it'd be a fun, entertaining game to watch, and it'd be a glimpse of the future for future matchups in this division to come. But I also feel like the Texans would beat the Titans, and it would give us the official elimination from the playoffs. Because guys, I don't want to, like I said, I don't ever want to root for Tennessee to lose, and it's hard for me to say that, to root for them, and it sounds like I am, right? But I'm trying to think of the draft picks. I really am. I always, at the end of the day, I always want this team to win, and I always go into it thinking, oh, let's root for them to lose. At least with the past couple seasons, I've been thinking that. Sorry, not last season because we had a chance right to the end, but this season, let's get a draft pick. Let's rebuild this team. But I also want to see confidence in our team, and I want to see us continue to grow and build. But at 9-8, the odds are just not there. They're not in our favor to make the playoffs. They're really not. Now, the next time we do face the Texans will be in Houston, and that will be a New Year's Eve game, and that will be more than likely Stroud versus Levis, and that's a game I'm very interested to see. I think it'll be fun. I really do. I'm looking forward to these matchups. Hopefully, we can get the better of the Texans going forward. But, to have some good quarterbacks in the division is always interesting and always fun. You got to figure it brings out the best in everybody, because you're facing good quarterbacks, on a team twice a year. It's going to make you better. It's going to make you want to build your offensive line better, your defensive line to get after the quarterback, because you're playing up against such high competition year in and year out. But that's what I got for this game. I'm going to go give you my final score prediction. And I have Tennessee Titans over Houston Texans 23-17. And I expect big days out of Will Levis, DeAndre Hopkins, and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has owned the Texans over the years, and DeAndre Hopkins gets to face his former team while wearing the Oilers jersey. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, and he can't wait to ball out while wearing this jersey against his former team. Guys, that's what I got. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, tighten up.